Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. I think this is also going to be a beautiful video, and it's rough. It's basically about Indian South African people. When I initially moved to South Africa, finding Indians in the country was something that was very unexpected. I never expected to I'd see Indian people. Of course, I do have the idea of Indians because I've seen a couple of them in Nigeria, but there's so many in the south. And I was wondering, why do we have so many Indian people here? Do they also migrated from India or something? But then I've come to realize that no, Indians are actually have a community here. And from my little research, I realized that South Africa is where you find the largest, or the second largest actually, Indian community in the world. So if Indians are not in India, South Africa is their second home. And you find majority of them in KZN, KwaZulu-Natal, and that's Durban. I really felt like this would be an interesting subject matter, as I'm sure there are many other people in West Africa that do not know anything about the Indian people in South Africa. And a good friend of mine, Kishan, is willing to help me break down those walls, and we both have a conversation, and hopefully I can not just personally understand, but also let more people interested or more individuals watching my channel understand the origins of why South Africa is the second home to Indians. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm excited to not just entertain you, but also to educate you. Thank you. Thank you very much for doing this. I really, really appreciate. And let me just open it like this. I moved to South Africa 2013, right? My dad was already living here, and it was very strange for me as at that time. See, I'm like, why are a lot of Indian people here in Pretoria? They own shops, they do a lot of things like that. And I just felt like, fine, I was aware of Indian people because in Nigeria there are a few Indian people. They teach mathematics and all of that in schools and all of that. But then getting here, when I see that they're not just few, they have a community, and they seem to still have their traditions, their culture, and all of that. So I'm like, no, one day I would like to sit with someone that really is an Indian person and maybe can break these walls for me, these things I don't understand about the Indian community. So what are your origins?
My origins are, well, basically I'm from KwaZulu-Natal, so I grew up there. I was born there. That's where a majority of Indian people are based. That's where we landed in South Africa the first time. The majority of Indians did come to South Africa as indentured laborers. Other Indians did come as traders, gold traders, merchants, such and such. But the majority of my people, from Tamil people, Telugu people, they came from as indentured laborers to work in the sugarcane fields in KwaZulu-Natal.
Were they working under the best conditions at that time?
No, it was very harsh conditions. It was very harsh conditions, low pay. The majority of people lived in barracks.
That's if they even got paid at all.
Yeah, it was it's sort of like
exploitation.
Yeah, there were people who were very much exploited. Yes, yeah.
So, do you identify as Indian, African?
For myself, I have to say I identify as a South African first and foremost, South African. It's just that all my influences have been South African. The person I am today is based on South African culture, based on South African influences. And as much I do have Indian influences coming from an Indian household, obviously. But even to such an extent, when we say we're Indian, we're still South African Indian. So our influences as Indians are not the same as what you would see in India or people. So for us, it's South African Indian influences. So ultimately South African.
Interesting. I was doing a little research and I saw that South Africa is home to the largest number of Indians outside India. And averagely, I think the number is over 1.2 million people. So it's so like, why of there's so many places in the world. Why have Indian people chosen to settle here more? Because if you look besides India, this is like the second home,
Yeah.
and I think slowly it's starting to become Australia lately.
Yes,
What do you
Australia.
think about that?
Uh, I don't know. I would say the majority of Indians are here not really by choice. Most of them they were forced to come here by British rulers in the colonial system.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it was a choice. It was a choice, uh, but it's a bit blurry in terms of why so many are here
yeah.
and why we have the biggest population.
Could it
But
be climate? Could it be business? Could it be opportunity? Could it be economical benefits? Could it be like
I would say initially when the first people came, a lot of people followed them after that, seeing that it was like it was an open space in terms of business, in terms of trade. There were not many people who were involved in trade here in South Africa, so there was a lot of business opportunities. There was a lot of opportunities for South African Indians in a lot of different job positions, such as teachers and lawyers and accountants. Many of us and doctors as well.
yeah?
Yeah, so there was.
I was about to ask the question of what industries would you find more Indians? Is it like medicine, like doctors, health? Would it be education?
Education is a big one. I come from a family of my mother's side of the family are all educators, so education I would say is definitely a big it's a big industry that we're in. Education, definitely finance, definitely any sort of trade, and then also an interesting one is logistics, the transport of goods. My father's side of the family is in logistics, and that is a majority Indian controlled industry.
Logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think could that be the reason logistics sounds very, very, very it sounds like a lot of brain work. Does that mean Indians are good at mathematics, like the current, like the stereotype? Everyone thinks Indians must be good at mathematics. Like, explain that.
I don't know. I would say by myself personally, I am quite good at mathematics. Most of my family members are. Yeah, but I think with most of us, from the time we're young, we're always constantly asked to do simple math
So you
equations.
guys like numbers.
We love numbers, and yeah, we're always talking numbers. We always, it's very normal in my household for you to be asked to add this and multiply this, and you're expected to know.
Interesting.
Yeah, calculator is not a common thing.
Because even in Nigeria, Indians, my uncle was taught is very good in mathematics. His teacher at school, when he used to like also teach me maths, was Indian. So and my uncle is really good at maths. So and he always spoke good of his teacher at school, which was probably an Indian person. And it says a lot about that. Something about Indians and maths. Because if you even look in terms of like the tech world right now,
Yes.
the CEOs at Google, Microsoft, the Indian people, there has to be something. We're yet to find out what, but there's something behind all of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And one other thing, are all Indians good at bargaining? Because a lot of times I step into the shop to buy something as an Indian guy, they would find a way to sell something to you or just find a way to give you a good deal. They were like, no, 50% off, this, that. They're like, listen.
I don't know. I don't know about all people, but I know myself particularly.
Yeah.
I've been around my parents. My parents love to bargain. My parents are good at negotiating. So I myself am also quite good at it. And for me, I love to bargain. I could never pay full price for anything.
Imagine.
Yeah.
And you know the funny thing, I also share the same sentiment as like being a Nigerian family, like my parents staying here. It's also a thing for us that we have this culture or way of life that we are always taught to learn to sell and learn to build and learn to just we are taught that too. You must learn to know how to do something and always learn to bargain,
Yeah.
to get a fair deal for anything you're paying for. Interesting. Do you plan to visit India anytime soon?
I visited once before,
Oh yeah, when was that?
in 2010, but I was quite young at the time.
How was it? It's a good experience, right?
It was a good experience, but I don't know. For me personally, there wasn't much that I could take away from the experience.
Yeah.
To me, it would have been like any other place,
Mm.
visiting any other foreign country.
Where in India did you visit?
I visited most of the country, but
The parts of the country.
yeah, most parts of the
Were you
country.
able to like meet like family members, relatives? No.
No, we don't really have any ties, so we don't know exactly. There is a bit of we know more or less where we're from, which region, but the exact specifics, which family, that's unknown.
Interesting. Do you think the Indians in South Africa still retain their cultural, and traditions? Because sometimes you see some people with the red dot on their forehead. What does that mean?
Yes, I would say religiously, yes, a lot of people do maintain their culture in terms of religion.
And what's their religion?
Majority of Indians are Hindus.
Hindus. Okay.
Yeah, I come from a Hindu
Background.
household, yeah, as well. But in terms of as a youth, I wouldn't say we retain that sense of culture. We do have our new our new South African Indian culture. So it's not really anything specific. It's nothing that you would find in India. It's something that you'd find in the South African Indian community.
Something that's been built out of being like staying here for a while. There's a living style.
Yeah.
Or what would I say? Way of life rather.
Yes, definitely.
I still have a few more questions. Do you ever feel like a minority in South Africa? Because you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I most definitely. Yeah, I most definitely feel like minority. It's very difficult to see people of your own skin.
Even in, like politics also represent like the
Yeah, in politics definitely.
parliament.
Yeah, in politics definitely we have very little representation. The thing is, we are represented well in the business world, but that doesn't.
It needs to spread to other aspects.
Aspects, yeah.
What would you like to see change in terms of that?
Especially in politics, I would love to see,
More Indians involved.
yeah, in general inclusion of most races in South Africa.
Yeah, that's very fair. I agree with you on that. I'd like to see Nigerians in the parliament soon. I have one other question. Would you ever marry outside your culture?
No, most definitely. Yeah, no. For me, it's not really a specific thing. I don't look at it that I have to marry within my culture or within my ethnicity.
Yeah, the guitar.
Within
Ethnicity.
ethnicity. But yeah, because at the end of the day, I would like to marry a South African because
Yeah.
that's where my culture really lies in.
I've never seen any Indian marrying out of their culture. Like Indians are always with Indians. I've never seen them. Maybe it's just what I know.
Yeah.
There might be. There's definitely.
It's not a common thing.
It's not a common
Yeah, I
thing.
wouldn't say it's a common thing. The majority of Indian people do marry people in their culture, and they marry specifically their ethnic group. So Tamils would marry Tamils, and Hindus.
Hindus will marry Hindus.
Yeah.
Punjab will marry Punjab.
Yeah, most.
I used to watch Indian films growing up. Like my initial sense of cinema was from Indian movies. I saw a lot of Indian movies in Nigeria growing up. Sholay, there was Mad, Tabashar, all
Yes,
of that.
yes, yes.
That's what I grew up on, and I really like cinema from that Indian perspective. And lately, I've not gotten much of it anymore. But I don't know why in Nigeria at that time we got to see a lot of Indian movies. I don't know what changed, but I really enjoy the message and just seeing someone that looks closest to your skin. I'm African, but when you watch Indian people, you still relate to them a bit because they're closest to what you look like, and you just enjoy watching that. I'm not saying I don't enjoy watching Western movies, but I just enjoyed the Indian films and the message. What's up with Indians and snakes? Is there something?
There is a relation. Well, religiously, we don't believe in the harm of snakes, so it's against the religion to harm snakes. We do have quite a close relationship with snakes. We do view them as a powerful being, as a being quite close to God. So they have a lot of spiritual links, religious links.
Yeah.
The specifics, I can't tell you the specifics. I don't know myself.
Yeah.
But I do know there's a lot of spiritual and religious links to snakes.
Yeah, because I also see with Saguru. You know Saguru, right?
Yes, I am familiar.
What do you think about Saguru?
I'm not really a follower of his content.
I'm a follower. I think he's like, it provokes my thoughts. Like when I listen to him say some things, I'm just like, wow, that's like, I didn't think of it that way, It just blows my mind. Anyways, This question is quite very stereotypical as well. Do you like curry?
Yeah, definitely. No, I would say in terms of our food is definitely one of the things that we have kept close to us in terms of culture. That's definitely one of the things that's one of the prominent features of our culture. For in South Africa and in India, our food is really important to us, and we really do take it seriously.
That's good because like the old stereotype is that most Indians always eating curry for breakfast, curry for lunch, curry like that. I know it's not like that. It's just people. And one additional question: am I correct to say you're an African-born Indian
Oh,
or an Indian-born African,
ah,
or you're just an African? You just
I'm just an African. I was born here. I don't really have any ties to being an Indian. Yeah, ethnically I'm Indian, but
yeah,
my nationality and I'm South African.
true.
So
Do you eat okra? Because in Nigeria we eat okra a lot.
yeah, we do eat okra. It's, yeah,
Evangela, you eat okra. Okra is I don't know if I would say it's a staple food in Nigeria, but it's something that we constantly eat in West Africa.
yeah. No, the majority of Indians, well, not in South Africa, but in India, are vegetarians, and quite a lot of Indians in South Africa are vegetarians. So any veg is quite popular in our cuisine.
Interesting. So I remember growing up and watching a few movies, even till today. I'm sure some people still watch Indian TV stations, and there's something that's like some sort of arranged marriages. Is it something that still exists in this modern time?
I wouldn't say in South Africa it's a very rare thing, but I'm sure it does happen.
Some people are still practicing
Yeah, I wouldn't completely rule it out, but it's not a common thing in South
it
Africa.
anymore.
Yeah, in India, it's not as common, but it's still something that happens on a regular basis. But in South Africa, it's not really a common thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm rolling. Do you enjoy being an African? Like, do you enjoy living in Africa in that sense?
Most definitely. I really do enjoy living here. I enjoy the culture. I really do like African people. I love South African people. I really do love South African people.
So if you were to come into this world again, would you still choose Africa or India?
I would definitely choose, well, not Africa specific, South Africa specifically. For me, South Africa, yes, definitely.
All right. So you're saying you choose South Africa.
Yes.
And is there anything you'd like to know about Nigeria? Are there some gray areas? Because I've asked you so much about yourself. Is there anything you'd like to know about Nigerians as well?
In general, I'd just like to know, why is South Africa the destination of choice for most immigrants?
So I think it's a good starting point to go into like Europe or Australia or like other continents of the world because of the what would I say the diplomatic presence South Africa has. Like when you live here, when you own property, when you have a South African ID, it's much easier for you to travel into other parts of the world for visits. You be granted visa compared to you being in other African countries. It's quite very difficult to just leave any other African country to go overseas. South Africa is like the starting point. It's like it's the lever for most Nigerians. And most Nigerians, they come here, they live for a while, and then they move on to Canada, onto different parts of the world. This is like the starting point for them. And nice. Is there any other thing you'd like to know?
No, that's all.
All right. Your favorite South African food?
Here's South African food.
I know you cook.
Yeah, I can't think of a specific South African food. Chicken feet. Chicken feet. Yes.
Chicken feet.
Yeah, definitely chicken
What
feet.
do they call it? Is it runaways molontois or something?
But where I'm from is walkie-talkies.
Walkie-talkies. My last question. I think this is always something very personal for me, and it's. I always like to put it like this: who would you like to be in the future?
Myself, I just for myself, I'd like to have a entrepreneurial presence. That's all I'd like to be. I'd have a business, like to have a business presence, and
Like all Indians like to own businesses.
yeah, definitely. I would just like to have a presence and an impact on the financial landscape in South Africa.
All right. Thank you very much, Kishin. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, man.
That's all.
This story sent me into a rabbit hole of discovery. The story of sugar and sugarcane plantation is a very emotive one for many people, including myself. And I am honestly very disturbed about the human rights violations and the atrocities I read about. I mean, there is a story of a guy who left his village in India and arrived at Port Natal and was immediately sent off to work on the sugarcane plantations under excruciating conditions, very punishing conditions. And he ended up buying himself out of his indenture, but he died before he could return to India. And that's the story of many descendants of the Indian people who have chosen to call South Africa home today. I am very offended for the lack of respect of not knowing any of this, but I'm glad I do now. I am much well enlightened about this subject matter. Whew. I'd like to personally have conversations with more descendants of the indentured so we can understand more and hopefully we can stop this from repeating itself again. My Indian brothers, my African brothers, please feel free to comment in the comment section. And if you have more understanding about this subject matter, feel free to make a write-up and let's educate ourselves about these things. Thank you very much for watching today's video. It took me some time to put it together, but I really enjoyed it because it wasn't just me making a video, I was also educated and enlightened. There's certain things I know today. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell a friend about it, share the videos with your Indian friends. Thank you very much.